This book is banned in a lot of ways. It's banned in different countries. It's banned from people themselves wanting to pick it up and read it. They feel like it is a hot potato. They don't really want it in their hands. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to read this book from front to back. It's going to take me a very long time. This book has 66 books, and this book that I'm talking about and that I'm holding is the Holy Bible. And so I'm going to start in Genesis, and then I'm going to go all the way to Revelation, and I'm just going to read it and see what I'm feeling, what comes to mind, anything that I find relevant. I'm just going to stop in between each verse and just talk about it. So here we go. We're in Genesis chapter 1, and it says the creation of the world. Off the bat, there's a lot of different theories out there that say the creation of the world is what they believe. But as a believer, this is the only one that matters to me, what it says in this book. So here we go. In the beginning. First off, in the beginning, we are already establishing time. Time is already established in the beginning. God created the heavens and the earth. So heavens is with an S. So that makes me go, is there more than one heaven? Clearly there's an S on heaven, so there has to be more than one. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Verse 2, the earth was without form and void, and darkness was over the face of the deep. All right, so there is already, the Bible is saying the earth was without form. So God basically gave it form. God designed form. He's the designer of this. So when you say create or being a creator, you essentially are a designer in some way. And God is the ultimate designer. And in this case, he's the ultimate and the architect that we know. Then it goes, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. So there was water already. So we had a void and we had darkness, but still there was even water already established. Cool. And God said, let there be light. And there was light. Okay. So there was darkness already established. That's what it's saying. And he was able to still look over the waters, right? He was hovering over the face of the waters. All right. And then he said, let there be light, and there was light. So already God is light. He's saying, let there be light, but he is the designer of light in itself. So darkness isn't something he designed. And you need to remember that, because in our personal lives, we think that a dark period in our life could be something that God is placing there so we can, you know what I mean? But in Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, it says, let there be light, and he is the designer of light. So isn't that really cool to get that kind of from the perspective of anything that God does is light. And God saw that light was good. So light is good. So darkness is not good because light is good. And God separated the light from the darkness. So there wasn't a separation at that time because all that was around was darkness. That's what it seems like. Verse 5, God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening and there was morning the first day. Like I said, time is already established. Isn't that neat? In Genesis chapter 1, we're talking about time. That's cool. I like that. Verse 6, and God said, let there be an expanse in the midst of the waters. Remember, there was already waters. He was hovering over waters. So he's saying, let there be an expanse of water. And let it separate the waters from the water. So we're getting a definition and a very detailed design of waters being oceans, seas, rivers, maybe. That's what it seems like. So the waters will separate. It won't just be one big one big body of water. It will be separate in some capacity. This is almost, not only is it science, but geography happening. He's designing this. Isn't it so cool? Genesis chapter 1 is all about design. Number 7, and God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. What? I'm reading the English Standard Version, and that sounds like a poem or some sort of music. Let me read that again. And God made the expanse and separated the waters that were under the expanse from the waters that were above the expanse. And it was so. And then isn't it funny how it goes, and it was so? What? Okay. But basically it's saying water is separate and anything that was above the waters, he's talking about. So the waters and there's air. This almost sounds like the water cycle for our science nerds out there. It sounds like the water cycle. But that's funny. That's like a whole tongue twister in itself. Verse 8. And God called the expanse heaven. Okay, so look, he's kind of already designing. There's this, there's that, and then there's that. So he calls it heaven. But remember, he did say, the Bible did say, God created the heavens and the earth. So it makes sense to me. So it starts off with basically the description. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. So it's letting us know that that's how it's going to start. But then it goes in detail and says he called anything, the expanse above water, to be heaven. Cool. Okay. And then there was evening and there was morning the second day. Look, we're already getting our days of the week established and what time is established in more detail because it talks about morning and evening and then the darkness being night and the light being day. But didn't talk about the sun. He didn't talk about the sun yet. Verse 9, and God said, let the waters under the heavens be gathered together in one place and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Okay, he's starting to talk about land. So what, dirt and things like that? All right. You see, we're already starting with elements. We're talking about fire could be energy, obviously things that, light. The sun isn't talked about just yet, but light, what does it come from? Well, it comes from God, but, now later we'll be introduced to the sun, I'm assuming, right? And then it says, God called the dry land earth. See, it goes back to when you read it, it's always referencing itself. This is literature. So like I said, it says, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, but now we're learning about the dry land being called earth. And the places that were gathered together, he called seas. Didn't I say that just a couple minutes ago? And God saw it and it was good. Look, it's the artist that sees the painting and goes, this is going to be good. This is going to be good. Isn't that funny how that works? He says, and it was good. Well, he saw it and then he said it was good. Where are we at? We are on verse 11. And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, plants yielding seed, and fruit trees bearing fruit, in which is their seed, each according to its kind on the earth. And it was so. Isn't it funny how at the end of every sentence, at the end of everything that God is doing, he goes, and it was so. So now we're getting introduced to vegetation because, first it was light was established. Then we're getting the waters being established, like actually it being called water. And then he separates the water. And then he goes, I'm going to also make the layers, everything from the waters, from air, blah, 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 up and up and up into where I am. Those are the heavens. And then now we know about the land. And then we also know, obviously, throughout this, he was creating time, evenings, mornings, day and night. And then at the end of every time he does something, he goes, and it was so. Isn't that like the trademark of this chapter? And it was so. It's kind of like, yeah, look at it. Yeah. And then he goes, which, like, before I go on, he talks about vegetation. So we're getting already the establishment of life, because vegetation is life. Fruit is life. For all those vegans out there, I was a vegan vegetarian for about a decade. And there's this debate about if vegetation and plants and seeds are life or real. They may not be sentient, meaning they don't have emotions or whatever, but they are life. So God has already established life. This is way before we get into Adam. We're not even on Adam yet. All right. I haven't realized how thick Genesis 1 is. Okay. So let's keep going. And God said, let there be lights in the expanse of the heavens to separate the day from the night. Remember, he already did that, but he's just saying it again. And let them be for signs and for seasons. Oh, okay. So the day and night then gets established as pretty much, does it say that we're getting the form of the week and months and days even further and more detailed? in seasons, because if he's making vegetation, then he had to go, okay, it would be awesome if apples grew all year, but I kind of can't do that because there's a possibility there will be chaos. So he organized it even more. So he's saying, okay, I had to organize the vegetation and organize the days and the nights and the mornings to really mean something specific. So we have some order because God is the author of order. So he's saying seasons and for days and years. So yeah, like I said, weeks and how we organize time and record time is established. Now we go to verse 15, and let them be lights in the expanse of the heavens to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And God made the two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night, and the stars. So the sun is established, but he didn't say it. In this translation, they don't say the sun, and they definitely don't say the moon. So God does that in verse 16. And God set them in the expanse of the heavens to give light on the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to separate the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good, and there was evening and there was morning, the fourth day. We're only on verse 19, and mine is blown. We have to talk about this real quick. So God, being the ultimate designer, he's designing what we know around here. Okay. I'm sitting outside and he did this. I had a hand in this, like where I live, like I put work in here to, make sure it looks nice. But before me, God did this. He did it, and he's a great designer. He's such a great designer to the point where this isn't arrogance, but at the end of every time he does something, it could be something so simple that we take for granted right now, like day and air and oceans and water. But every time he made something, he goes, and it was good. That is so funny because he's basically going, yeah, I know what I just made is good. He said that and he did that. Fast forward to now, you take these things for granted just simply because the design is so good that we're just like, oh yeah, it's air, it's water, it's grass. Like, yeah, it's good. But he's like, while he was making, he's like, this is good. And imagine thinking that something more esoteric did the exact same thing. They were able to just create the world in existence, but they weren't able to do all the other things that the book talks about that we know God had a hand in. So think about it. If you're someone who doesn't believe in this and you think creation happened with like a bang, or you think creation happened somewhere else, like some sort of beings did it, you can argue, sure, they created the world, but they didn't create everything else that's in this book. Isn't that funny? Like God, they didn't create this and go, and it was so. You can argue, yeah, they created this, comes from atoms and molecules, whatever you want to think, but even that was designed by God. And it just makes me feel more excited. We only got through 19 verses because there's just so much you can say, but I'm excited. I'm excited to dive more into the ultimate designer, the best designer of all time. And if you've made it this far, thank you so much. Make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel. I'm going to keep going. Genesis chapter 1 is about design. Yes, it's the creation of the world, but it's really a design story. And I will see you guys on the next video. God bless.